Hey YA nerds, it's Kaye here with another video for Kaye Reads a Lot. Today we're going to be talking about a book that I probably should not have read during quarantine, but here we are. Before my library closed, I actually grabbed like 9 books. One of them is an adult book, so I probably won't talk about it on this channel. But the other 8 were all YA books, and I've gotten through 2.5, almost 3 of them. I put down one, I didn't like it. I probably should finish it so I can review it for this channel and actually give like an honest review instead of like a nostalgia review like I've been doing for all the other books on my bookshelf, but here we are. Today we're just going to be talking about Wilder Girls by Rory Power. Ooh, there we go. Ah, yay. No glare. Little glare. This book's another one of those books that like the cover's gorgeous, so I put it on my TBR list, and then we got it in the library last year and I processed it, and then again before my library closed I was like, oh, this book, and took it home with me. So it is perfectly clean and safe. I actually wiped it down myself. So that's good. And I guess I'll just give you some of the details about this book. So it was published July 9th, 2019, so almost a year ago, and it's 357 pages. It was also nominated for last year's Goodreads choice for YA fantasy and sci-fi. So it's pretty cool, and in preparation for this book, I'm actually wearing one of my favorite shirts by one of my favorite artists. So it says, "Don't tell me to smile," and it's got a really cool Medusa on it. Really cool Medusa. Kind of ties in with the book a little bit, because it is like a feminist statement. This book's got a lot of women in it, a lot of strong women, powerful women, women who take charge and don't take shit from anyone. Ooh, I cursed in this channel. Whoops. I'm not editing that out. I think also too, like the monstrosity that is Medusa, you know, a woman with snakes in her hair, and even this depiction of her with the snakes and the flowers, I think it goes really well with some of the characters from this particular book, and I will get into why. So the plot for Wilder Girls, oh, I'm getting so good at this, there we go. It's about a bunch of girls who are at a boarding school on an island off the coast of Maine. And one day, about a year and a half before the beginning of this book, they start getting sick. This is why I should not have read this during quarantine. So the girls start getting sick, but they don't get sick with like normal colds or anything like that. No. They get sick and start like growing scales on their body or gills on their necks. Or in the main character, one of the main character, Hetty's case, her eye kind of seals shut and she can feel something constantly moving behind it, which, bleh, squeak, bleh, so gross. Every time she mentioned it, I was like, skip the paragraph. Can't read it. I can't read that part. So all the characters kind of have something crazy going on with them. The boarding school originally has 120 girls. By the beginning of this book, they're down to like 60, maybe at the most. Hetty kind of doesn't give us an exact number. She says she thinks about half are left, and it's only been a year and a half. The Navy and the CDC have been monitoring the situation. They're the ones who close off the island to the rest of the world and are kind of, they tell the girls like they're not allowed outside of the grounds of where the manor of the boarding house is. Not boarding house, I'm sorry, boarding school. And if they leave, they'd be breaking quarantine, and the CDC will no longer help them. So that's kind of like the main conflict in the book. From there, you have the 3 characters, the 3 main characters, Hetty, who is one of our narrators, Byatt, who's the other narrator, and Reese. And Reese never narrates. She is like good friends with Byatt, who's best friends with Hetty, and Hetty kind of tolerates Reese. And they're at odds a lot throughout the book, until things change. I won't tell you what happens. You're gonna have to read it. But yeah, so the 3 of them are inseparable. They're kind of like their own tribe inside of the chaos of the rest of the boarding school. And then from there, you know, they have a lot of like minor characters who kind of take place. They kind of move the story along, and some things happen to them, and some girls die and some girls live, and it's a very interesting take on a pandemic story. I guess is the word I want to use, for lack of a better word. The thing that's infecting them is called the tox, and apparently it only exists on this island, and it affects a lot of things on the island. So not only are the girls affected and changing into monsters, but any animals that existed on the island are also changing into monsters, which is creepy and scary. So it adds like another level of horror to everything else that's going on. So the girls have to constantly be vigilant against the outside threat, but also they have to look out for each other and themselves, because the tox does scary, weird things to their bodies, but also their minds. So, really interesting. For the tropes for this book, not that many. They're all the ones at the end of the alphabet, because I finally alphabetized the list after 2 years of recording videos. I was just kind of like cherry picking from this list that wasn't alphabetized, and my little librarian heart couldn't take it anymore. So we have strong/smart female protagonists, switching point of view, unusual names, Byatt, Hetty, Reese, kind of unusual, wrecking ball endings, and youths in danger. All makes perfect sense. As always, this list I've compiled from like my own knowledge, but also from sources on the internet that I can't remember because it's been 3 years, and other librarians, and having conversations with other teen librarians and teens who read. Can't forget that. If you want to know what any of them mean, you could just scroll down to the description below and I will put the definitions there for you. So, read-alikes. These are like my recommendations that I've just gathered from the web. I'm using 2 websites, again, as usual. One of them is going to be Goodreads and the other one is going to be Novelist. Goodreads is owned by Amazon and is like a community-driven review site, I want to say. So their recommendations are based off of like your list, but also the book. Yeah. And then Novelist is owned or hosted on EBSCO, which is complicated. But a lot of times Novelist, you can gain entry to it through your library's website. And using your library card, you can log in and see what they have to offer. The thing I like about Novelist as opposed to Goodreads, and I do have a Goodreads, like I am a heavy Goodreads user. As much as I don't like Amazon, which is another story, I am a heavy Goodreads user. And if you guys want, you can follow me on Goodreads and see what I'm reading, what I want to read, what I'm reading next, etc. I'll put a link to that in the description as well. But for Novelist specifically, Novelist is strictly a recommendation site. Reader's advisory site is really the word I want to use, but you guys won't necessarily know what reader's advisory means because that's a library term. So reader's advisory is like, you give me 3 books you love and I will give you 6 books that you can read based on those 3 books. So it's kind of why I'm using Novelist in these videos, because it is a more accurate like recommendation site. If you're going to use it, I highly recommend playing around with it. The cool thing about it is you can like set appeal factors, so you can decide like, I want a fast-paced book with diversely written characters that takes place in the future, and it will give you a list of books that meet all those criteria. So when you start to run out of things to read, like some of you do, not me, you can go on that site and look up things like that and decide what you want to read from that list. You can also look up some of your favorite books, and it will give you a list of books that are similar to that. So those are called read-alikes. And I've been using the term read-alikes without explaining what they mean. So that's how those 2 sites work. Goodreads gave me The Grace Year by Kim Liggett. I'm probably saying that wrong. I'm so sorry. I don't know much about this book. I know that it's about girls and something happens and they have to go away for a year. But I know I read the inside to this book because I know I processed it at my job, but I cannot remember anything beyond that. That's it. And the other book that it recommended was The Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I think that's kind of accurate. She's really good at writing like dark YA fantasy books. I think Wilder Girls is very dark. So Leigh Bardugo, probably accurate. I have The Ninth House as an audiobook, got it for free. So I actually have to just sit down, well, and listen to it, which is impossible for me. It's better for me to listen to audiobooks in the car. I'm not driving right now. I will get to it. And then novelist recommended to me Sawkill Girls by Claire Legrand. Don't know anything about this book, to be honest. I know that the cover of this book is really beautiful, just like the cover of Wilder Girls is very beautiful. And so in my head, that makes sense. The two of them would be related. But other than that, I really don't know much about it. I'm sorry. And then Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer, which is really funny because Jeff Vandermeer said something nice about Wilder Girls. So, really funny. Annihilation's kind of cool. The only thing I know about Annihilation is what I know from the movie trailers. I haven't even seen the movie. I'm weird about horror films, and I thought that was a horror film. I could be wrong. I'm much better with horror stories because at some point, if I get scared during the book, I can put it down. So yeah, that's it for recommendations. So my rating for this book is not a 10 out of 10. I'm giving this book an 8 out of 10. Oh my god, I rated a book something that wasn't 10 out of 10, oh my god! There were many things I really loved about this book, like really loved, but there were some things I hated about the book. And so I won't get into it because everything I didn't like about the book, I shouldn't say hate because I didn't hate, I just didn't like some things. But anything I didn't like about the book is pure spoiler. So I'm not going to get into it. Unfortunately, you're not going to get my explanation. So you're just going to have to read the book and tell me what you think about it down in the comments below. That's kind of it for Kaye Reads a Lot today. If you guys want, you guys can recommend me books to read down in the comments. I'm always looking for more book discussions to have. You can reach out. Tell me if you've read this book. Did you love this book? Maybe don't read it right now during quarantine, but read it eventually. It is a really good, scary, creepy book. So I do recommend it for those reasons. And yeah, I guess that's kind of it for me today. And I guess I'll talk to you later. Peace out, YA nerds.